morning, Manu. Thank you so much for being with us today. I want to start by asking you this counterintuitive question. When all of us think of disaster, the first thing which comes to your mind is relief. But you've gone beyond all that. You look at disaster as not just relief, but resilience. Now you're looking at infrastructure, and that doesn't land for many of us, right? Why? What is the rationale behind all this?
In one of my early experiences, while I was visiting field in 1998 in Kandla, there was a Category 2 cyclone, and there were some 4,000 lives that were lost in that Category 2 cyclone, which was completely avoidable. And while we were doing relief work there, we felt that, a simple J-hook on the roof could have saved thousands of those lives.
Absolutely.
And we felt that it's just not about relief. It's about how that relief can actually lead into long-term prevention and preparedness of communities. Right. So I think we've had these eye-opener events in our own life, which kind of made us do what we felt was important. And the good thing is, when we look at it 10 years down the line, we find that the same communities are so well prepared and they don't get impacted the way they did in the earlier cyclone or the storm.
Yeah, amazing.
And, with all the climate change and other impacts now increasing both in intensity and, unpredictability, these kind of things will only increase. There is limit to what we can do as far as relief is concerned. Right. So why not invest in long-term resilience building, which is what would save lives in the first place.
Yeah. And when you think of infrastructures, at least the first reflex is, it is this big thing, and usually something which the governments have to do.
Yeah.
But again, you took a counterintuitive approach there, and you said, I want to build community as an infrastructure, the voice of the community as an infrastructure. Yeah. And how do you do this when you have so many diverse communities, diverse perspectives, so many challenges each of these communities face during disaster, and how do you create an infrastructure out of this?
Yeah, I think it is about listening to the communities and their wisdom. So often we go there with our own university degrees and formal trainings, and we feel that we have all the solutions. It's when you go and interact with them and you realize that half of them would never be accepted because it doesn't fit into their cultures. Absolutely. It doesn't fit into their lifestyles. And so when we have that negotiation leading to those small partnerships at micro level, at community level, then magic happens, and it's not only, it is a learning experience for us, and what we come out with as a product of that negotiation is far more acceptable, but it's also more cost effective and sustainable because they inherently take on that ownership. And that kind of expands from one household to entire communities. And, we have this habit of looking at our neighbors and, learning from them. It happens so much more in well-knit communities. So why not templatize this approach itself? We call it the owner-driven approach, where the survivor actually becomes the lead for deciding what is best for them, and we become like a external agency which negotiates what would make them safer for the future disasters. So it works out quite well, and we've seen how community infrastructures like schools, health, other things like even setting up water management committees around a new facility for water dispersal, it becomes so much more holistic and sustainable than just making a house and walking away from there.
Absolutely. What does scale mean to you? Again, this is counterintuitive because when you look at context, the rationale is scale does not come. because
Yeah.
context is on the ground. But then how do you take all of these context and move this to scale? So what does scale even mean to you?
For me, scale is about being able to work with these different communities at the same time, and still not letting go of that approach that we have learned
Yeah.
over our field experiences. So in 2015, there was this earthquake in Nepal. And as we know, there were thousands of lives lost, but actually there was also something around 600,000 that houses that were destroyed.
Yeah.
And the government of India wanted to support Nepal, and they said, look here, we are wanting to do work in Gorkha. Can you use your owner-driven approach to help build 50,000 houses in
Wow.
2 years? And we said, how do we do that? That was the scale problem that we faced, and it took us a lot of time to actually develop a system where these voices
Yeah.
can be aggregated at
Yeah.
different levels,
Yeah.
and then we create these partnerships again at household level, at cluster level, village level, and then even at the district or town level.
Yeah.
In a very systematic way,
Yeah.
where their voices would get recorded, organized, and we would bring in our resources to be able to develop some kind of shared understanding
Yeah.
of what needs to be done. And it took us some time to figure that out, about
Yeah.
6 months, but once it started working, we could actually build 26,000 houses, the
Wow.
kind, in just 2 years.
Amazing.
In fact, less than 2
Amazing.
years.
Wow.
So that sort of really
Wow.
made us believe that scale is not only possible, it is actually a feasible idea also. And given the current conditions with the number of disaster events only on an increase, I think scale is not a matter of choice. It is a necessity,
Absolutely.
in our given context.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you've been using Apurva for a while now.
Yeah.
Again, something maybe a little counterintuitive is disaster is this physical thing which happens on the ground. And what role can AI play in all of this? And what role is Apurva playing in your journey of scale, in the journey of transformation?
So we have tried Apurva for the first time in the cyclone that hit the western part of India in July last year, and then in Himachal Pradesh, where some devastating landslides took away hundreds of lives. And the challenge for us was that it was very difficult to understand how it has impacted individual lives in terms of the kind of distress they may be facing, because our surveys were telling us, which are usually these structured surveys, that there is damage because of these impacts, but it's not very apparent,
Right.
yet there is a lot of noise, there is a lot of feedback we are getting from local grassroots organizations, local media, that there is high level of distress. And so it was an opportunity for us to use Apurva to see what we can get that we are not able to see or understand, you know, and that too in a slightly consolidated way, where I can make a report out of it and speak to the government and have that kind of dialogue. And so that's what we used Apurva for. We let community voices get recorded. We also collected all the local media reports, some of these assessments that agencies had done, and kind of created that universe for within Apurva. And what we were getting was surprisingly, in a good sense, surprisingly, it was a surprise, in fact, where the concern was not so much about the damage to their house.
Yeah.
It was more about the delay in assistance from the government.
Yeah.
And that is a very important insight for
Yeah.
governments to take note of,
Yeah.
So while a government might be thinking of compensating for a house damage, perhaps they could have prioritized their actions by just being there, sending camps, setting up something like a rescue shelter for people to at least help them get over that mental trauma that they had just experienced. So I think that is something that this technology can do, and increasingly I feel that when we look at the nature of climate impacts,
Yeah.
which are largely invisible,
Yeah.
this kind of technology can really come in and bring out and amplify those hidden losses that people are facing.
Absolutely. And one last thing is, if I have to stretch this a little beyond, you have all these communities, each of them have their context, but they can also learn from each other.
Yeah.
Do you see that as a reimagination where a technology like AI and Apurva, which kind of democratizes knowledge in different languages and offers this access and choice to communities, and that really helps them restore their problems, restore their agency, and do this at scale? Do you see that as a possibility?
Oh, certainly. I mean, in the past too, again, going by experience, we have actually taken construction artisans from Gujarat to all the way to Port Blair in Andaman Nicobar Islands, where the tsunami happened, and actually helped the local artisans learn from the artisans of Gujarat.
Yeah.
So we've done that in person, and obviously it comes with a huge cost.
Absolutely.
So often our learning in the field has been that this peer level learning, a fisherman to a fellow fisherman on the other coast, a construction artisan to a fellow construction artisan, even though there may be a language barrier, they find a way to connect, and they connect much better than you and I coming in from outside wearing clothes that do not even fit into that context. So I believe in this power of peer level learning, and I do feel that Apurva, if it can help us overcome these challenges of language, and if we can create some kind of a platform or an enabling environment where this learning can happen, then there is great chance that this will work at scale.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Manu. As always, an inspiration to all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
All
you
right.
for speaking.